Hey guys, welcome back to Human to Human. I'm so excited to share today's episode. This is actually the first episode I've filmed since being home in Toronto. You can tell how thrilled I am about it just by how hyper I am in this episode, but I think there's a lot to take away. I start off by talking about online dating, but more go into what it's taught me, and really what that is that I've just taken away from putting yourself out there online, how important it is to be your true self, and sometimes those little parts that you're unsure to share that really showcase who you are so important to really share, because you can be so surprised at the results you get and the opportunities that arise from that. So yeah, bear with me for the beginning of it. I am a little all over the place because I think I was so excited to sit down and record. But there's some good stuff in here, I think, and I encourage you to take the leap and really be who you are, because I think the opportunities that come out of it are cool and so much bigger than what we could ever make up in our mind, and more exciting than what we could ever imagine. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I am so fucking excited to make this episode right now. I'm literally sitting here in a towel because I just got out of the bath. I am back in Toronto. I made the move yesterday. Yeah, I literally moved yesterday from Vancouver back to Toronto. I'm living with my family. I have a big bed. I have said this to so many people that know me, but I have only had a single bed my entire life. I have lived in 3 different places. I've lived with my parents and I had a single bed. I have lived in downtown Toronto for my first year of university in an apartment, and I had a single bed, and my room that I lived in Vancouver also had a single bed, and my mom got me a double bed. It feels like the biggest bed in the whole world. I feel like doubles aren't even that big, but I'm living my best life in this bed. I don't know why I started talking about that. That is so irrelevant to what we're talking about today, but I just wanted to mention how life-changing it is. And I'm going to make a whole new episode about kind of all the lessons I learned in Vancouver. And the biggest thing that I just want to touch upon quickly before I get into the actual topic of this podcast is just how much you learn when you live in a situation or are friends with someone or anything of that sort that you don't like. When you live an experience and put up with something you don't like, it makes like the good things so all the worthwhile. Like, it is so insane how much I'm enjoying this bed, because I've only had a single bed my entire life, and I've only slept in double or queen beds here and there, one-off situations. So sometimes experiencing the shitty stuff makes the good stuff so good. But anyway, okay, I am dying to talk about this today. Anyway, not the point. I got back to Toronto and I got Bumble, and I wanted to make an episode. I thought of this idea before, but I wanted to make an episode kind of about online dating and how, it's commonly viewed as like a negative thing, which I think is stupid, and I've had to like normalize it in my mom's brain. Hi mom, I know you're listening. Because I don't know, I feel like I associated online dating with like being desperate or needing attention or needing validation, and it's not any of those things. And also, if you're using online dating for validation or attention, go off, girl. Know that that's what you need, know that that's what you want out of it, and have those matches make you feel fucking good about yourself. You deserve that. You are hot, and if a match makes you feel even hotter, go off, queen. Like, live your best life. I feel like, yeah, online dating has been a negative thing, like a negative association with me. And I've kind of went on and off it quite a bit. And I've also had a negative relationship with it. I said this to my friend Ethan. He's been on the podcast, and he was like, of course you would say this, Jess, that I said, it's so overwhelming. There's so many options. There are so many options. It gets confusing. And then sometimes I'm like, do I actually think this guy is attractive, or like, do I just like want to swipe? I don't know. So I have been on and off it. Kind of like I was on it like a year ago, and in January of when 2020 just started, actually my first and only so far experience of being ghosted was a guy that I went on 2 Bumble dates with. Shout out to you, sir. I should tell that story on here one time, but that's for a different occasion. Can you tell I'm hyper and excited? I'm so hyper and excited. But anyway, I've been on and off online dating. Sometimes I felt like it was just like a super negative thing for me, and now I'm feeling like it's a very fucking positive thing, because I'm not on here for approval. I am here to be myself. And to be completely honest, having a podcast, it's fucking terrifying dating, having a podcast. I have never done it until now. I went on a couple dates with a couple Tinder guys in Vancouver, and those were really good experiences. Well, actually, they weren't all good experiences, but they were good learning experiences. And so now, being on Bumble, I answered like the prompts. Oh, fuck, sorry. I was picking up my phone and I wanted to kind of, did my phone die? Oh, it might have died. Shit. I wanted to tell you the prompts that I have for myself. Anyway, they give you a few different prompts. And I'm actually going to plug in my phone so I can read my answers to my profile for you. So, okay. So the big reason why I wanted to make this is to emphasize be your fucking self. Be who you are, because you will get the best responses. Like, yes, okay, maybe you might not always get the best responses, and fuck those people who give you shitty responses. But like, literally, I can't even express how shocked I am, but how pleasantly surprised I am, and how much I need to emphasize how much you need to be yourself and put those parts of yourself out there that like typically you might be like, I don't know what someone might judge me for. Do you know how much people can judge me for this? I'm literally like putting me talking onto the internet. But I started to screenshot every time someone said something positive about the podcast for me to look back on if I ever feel discouraged or insecure, or, like I'm really tired because it is a lot of work. Every time someone says something positive about it, it makes it all so fucking worth it. Like, I really appreciate when people reach out and say some kind words about it. It changes everything. If you have kind words to say, never hesitate to message me on Instagram. I check the Jessica J McDonald, my personal one, more often than I check the Human to Human Pod Instagram, but I'm starting to check both now. My phone is charged, but yeah, never hesitate to message me and say something. Please, please, please leave a review if you really appreciate the show and enjoy it on Apple Podcasts. That just makes things more credible. And if I, in the future, want to get some big guests on, that showcases that people do listen and do love my podcast. Okay, so my phone is charged now. And so in my profile, I've been like nervous to like talk about the things I love or the things that I really care about. But so Bumble has like prompts. So I answered my favorite quality in a person is humor and passion. Earlier months ago, I talked with my therapist about non-negotiables in a guy, and a new non-negotiable of mine is passion. I don't care what it's about. Be passionate about something, because we all have that inside of us, and life is so much more enjoyable when we are passionate and care about things and work towards something exciting that makes us feel good. So that's one thing. The second one is the quickest way to my heart is you playing guitar, in brackets, or singing, or any instrument really, because I have started to learn. Okay, well, I have always known I love acoustic guitar. Like, I just love it so much. And my boyfriend, my future boyfriend, husband, partner, whatever, does not need to know how to play the guitar. He does not need to know how to sing. He does not need to be musical in any way. Update, I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, but if I love acoustic guitar so much, I should just learn how to play acoustic guitar myself and not have that be a requirement of someone I date. It's also obviously not a requirement, but just wanted to add this thought in there, this afterthought. I grew up in the arts, not really in my family, but in school. I went to an arts middle school and an arts high school. So I've just been surrounded by creativity, and I didn't realize how much I valued that in guys. Also, two of my really, really, really close friends, one dated a guy in a band and one is currently dating a guy in a band. I have learned from my besties. I want that. Love that. Love instruments, love music, love creativity. Wish I could play an instrument. But if he is passionate about writing, wakeboarding, literally anything, love you, great. And then the other thing I said is the prompt is I will never shut up about, and I said my podcast, which was like a scary ballsy thing for me to say. And I connected my Instagram so they can really know who I am. And like, I get fucking nervous about the amount I post on Instagram. I post on Instagram a shit ton, and I've had only one person really comment on it, but it is scary. It is scary to put myself out there that much and know that someone could tear it down. But similar, actually, a Bumble guy, just another update, this Bumble guy and I are still talking, and he is also very passionate, so check in those boxes. reminded me of this. He listened to the Sex and Self episode with Felicia, and he said, one, that it opened up his mind so much to sex and opening up conversations about that. And he also said how interesting it was that Felicia said that dating guys and having this organization, she was scared that it would scare them off, but it is an incredible filter. It is an incredible filter for the guys who, you know, wouldn't be able to handle it or wouldn't be interested in it or would be intimidated by it. You know, we are bad bitch, strong, independent woman doing things that we feel good about, and that can come off as intimidating or scary or whatever. But we're choosing to do the things that are fulfilling for us. And if a guy doesn't vibe with that and he doesn't support that, why would we want to talk to him anyway? And it took me a long time to realize I would rather be alone than be with someone who doesn't support what I'm doing or care about what I'm passionate about. So that's one thing. The second thing is, it leads to such deep conversations so much faster. It is crazy. I have never dove in deep with guys so quickly. Like one guy I actually saw in Vancouver, he listened to a podcast episode of mine before we even hung out. And he was like, this is so weird. I just listened to you talk for like 45 minutes and now you're right here. And I'm like, great. And it allowed us to have this really open communication. And this other guy I messaged said he would be down to be on my podcast. So I think the first time we're ever going to talk is we're going to make an episode. Fingers crossed it happens. That episode is the one that came out just a couple days ago with Chris, all about his whack experience on like going out and drinking and going back to a girl's place and having a video blow up on TikTok. So go listen to that. Yeah, I met him on Bumble and our first ever conversation was recorded on my podcast. And this other guy said he learned so much from my conversation with Felicia about sex. And just the fact that I was scared shitless to put it out there that I have a podcast and I love to write and I am so creative and these are things I hold really close to my heart. I was so scared to put that out there, but every interaction I've had with a guy when I hadn't put that out there is so much more fucking fluff and boring and unfulfilling than when I put it out there and then one or two people say, oh my God, what is your podcast about? Tell me everything. Or, oh my God, I just listened to an episode. Let me tell you everything I thought about it. I am like shitting myself. I am over the moon. It is just crazy. And it doesn't like matter if anything happens with any of these people or it leads anywhere. Like at times my brain does go into, oh my God, is this guy my future husband? Is he like going to be the person I marry? But like, it's not about that anymore. It's about, I mean, not anymore. I'll still have those moments, but like this is about having genuine connections with people. And the fact that I can open someone's mind up to a new topic, and thank you, Felicia, thank you to every single one of my guests. Like this isn't all me. Of course, there's no way I could be doing this without all the guests that have wanted to come on, the people who still want to come on in the future, my friends for supporting me, my mom for supporting me. This would not be possible without a support system who tells you you're a bad bitch and you can do whatever you want and to not care about those people who are haters. Like I felt so awkward creating a podcast when I lived at home 3 months ago and my brother and my dad didn't know about it and I didn't talk to them about it. And now here I am, everybody's asleep. But it's a small house. I'm sure they can hear me yammering. But like I post on my Instagram all the time. Like they follow me on that Instagram. This is just what I do. It's just a fucking normal thing. And you know what? The shit that we're scared to talk about, if you start to talk about it and you start to put yourself in really uncomfortable situations, guess what? It becomes normal, but like still so fulfilling after a while. Another example, a girl that was friends with my roommate that my roommate introduced me to in Vancouver. I hung out with her one of my first couple days in Van and I was so fucking nervous to meet new people and tell them about my podcast. One of like, this is a bit off topic. It's not off topic, but sorry, I'm going in just circles here, or not circles. I'm just going in diagonals. But one of the things that Maya always asks me when I went on a date with this second guy, and she at the end of our date, she goes, so did you tell him about your podcast? Because it's always like do I tell him? Do I not tell him? Like what? And I was like, no, I didn't. But anyway, like, yeah, telling people about my podcast is always like a scary fucking thing because you never know how people are going to react. But literally like almost 100% of the time people either don't care and they're like, cool, but no, 90 whatever percent of the time people are like, that's so sick, tell me more. And telling this girl who's friends with my roommate that I had a podcast. She was like literally, I think, the first person I told in BC, and I was so scared to tell her about it. And she asked me all these questions, and it was so cool. And guess what happened? 2 months later, she messaged me on Instagram saying, "Oh my God, hey, would you mind hanging out with me anytime soon? And I really want to ask you about podcasting." And she wants to start her own podcast, and she asked me for all this advice. You never know what doors you're opening for yourself when you're becoming vulnerable and honest and open, and you literally your most true and authentic self. But guess what? You're opening a lot of doors. You might not know which doors you're opening, but you're opening so many. And this podcast has changed my life. And it's changing the way I date, and it's changing the way I make friends, and it's changing the way I communicate. And it's just doing something that feels so authentic to myself, and leading with that changes how I interact with human beings in such a cool way. When I launched my podcast, my cousin Sam, who's 10 years older than me, she was one of my very first guests. And she was like, "Hey, can I be a guest on your podcast?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah." Don't wait for the invitation. If you want to be on the podcast, don't wait for the invitation. That goes for this one. That goes for anyone you care about. That goes for any job you want. That goes for anything you want to do. Don't wait for the invitation, because I'm not going to think of every single person to invite onto this. I don't know every person that listens to this. All I see is the number of downloads, and it doesn't mean a lot to my brain. But when someone reaches out to me and tells me that my thing touched them in some way, literally life-changing. It changes my life. And every time I get really bogged down or really tired or really cringy, oh my God, you know how hard it is to listen to yourself fucking talk? I edit every one of my episodes. And when I had Lance on, Lance is a person I look up to so much. He's also very attractive. If any of you have looked at his face, it's really obvious. And he has been the number one person who has just educated me about podcasting. And he was, he's been doing podcasting for 2 years. He's a great podcast, University of Adversity. And I had to put myself out there, and I invited him on, and he says the same thing. He asks big people to be on his podcast, and he says the worst thing they could say is no. So you might as well go for it, or else you'll literally never know. And so I had him on the podcast, and I edited it today, and it's coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, November 24th. So it'll be out obviously by the time this is out. But I was like so not looking forward to editing it, because in the moment I felt so awkward and I felt so cringy and I felt so nervous having him on the episode. And then I listened over and I was like, dude, you sound fucking fine. I don't know why you were tripping so bad, but like you held your own. And putting ourselves out there and doing these things we're so nervous for are so cool, because we learn sometimes things are just so much bigger in our head. And sometimes we're going to fall on our fucking face, and I'm sure that's going to happen. And it's not all rainbows and roses, and how I show up here all the time isn't always easy. Honestly, I want to say a couple weeks, but the past month, maybe the past 2 months, every time I had a podcast episode, I had to drag my ass out of bed. Sometimes I put on makeup. Sometimes I didn't put on makeup. Sometimes I didn't shower in the morning, and I have curly hair. If you've ever seen my shower in the morning, one of my friends referred to it as a treat. I think that was a very nice way to refer to it. I meant my unshowered hair in the morning, is what I'm talking about. My unshowered hair in the morning is a treat, to say the least. It is not pretty, but it's hard. It's really hard. And living in a basement was really hard. And living with people I didn't know very well was really hard. And so I didn't want to come to every episode I had to do. I didn't even have to do it. I was making myself do it, but I had these people reaching out, and I was reaching out to these people, and they wanted to be on. And so I scheduled these in the mornings too. So I really had to pull my ass out of bed. But every single time I had a conversation, I felt so much better after. I felt so incredible. Sometimes I got off the call and I was like, holy shit, that was a lot. Like, I'm tired. I'm not saying my world just shifted. Sometimes I would do a podcast episode, and that's the only thing I would do all day. I couldn't handle doing anything else because I was so exhausted, or I was so mentally drained. But you know what? Like, the way my life has shifted and the relationship I've had with myself, how that's changed over time because of the conversations I've had, is insanely impactful. And my cousin Maxine, I've learned so much about life from her, because she's an entrepreneur, and I worked for her for a bit, and I wouldn't doubt I'd work for her again in the future. And she's my cousin, and entrepreneurship is fucking hard. I learned that just by working alongside her. It is so hard. Personally, I don't think it's 100% for me, because I love stability in my life. But anyway, She has taught me the power of conversations, and that's all what Pick My Brain is about, her platform. And I couldn't agree more, clearly. And I just wanted to make this episode to emphasize how important it is to put yourself out there and do the thing you feel called to do, because no one's going to push you to, well, not to say no one's going to push you to do it. I had beautiful, incredible friends like Zoe and Maya and Nadine and Julia. Like, I can't even like name them all. And without them saying, just fucking do it, I support you, I'll be on it, I want to be by your side. Like, having friends, even like Julia introduced me to a bunch of her friends when I first moved into Vancouver. Julia is a friend of mine from Vancouver, and we went to high school together, but she would lead with, this is Jess, she has a podcast. And I was like, how are you leading with that? That is so ballsy of you. And she's like, because it's cool. And I was like, but this is scary. And she was like, why are you scared? And so just having people show me that is so incredible. And also the fact that like it is so, I couldn't ask for better supports in my life, but not everybody has that. And that's a really shitty reality. And not everybody will be supported like that. And the only real way we are supported, though, is by ourselves and knowing you can do it and follow your fucking dreams and tell the guy you think is cute exactly who you are and exactly who you care about, because also let people surprise you. We can expect the worst out of people. We can expect them to be boring or negative or shitty or critical. But you know how fucking cool life is when you let people surprise you. And sometimes they surprise you in terrible ways. Sometimes they don't happen to be the person you thought they were. But sometimes, and often, I have found people I would never expect to reach out to me to say they loved it or they want to be a guest are the people who do. And it's so cool. And you know what? Who knows what's going to happen with any of these people I'm talking to, and who knows how these online dating apps are going to go, and if I'm even going to meet someone there or meet someone somewhere else, or maybe I'll be single for the next 5 years. Who fucking knows? But the point is, I'm putting myself out there as who I am, and that's just the most empowering thing I've ever felt in my entire life. And I wanted to make this to tell you you can do the exact same. And if you're going through a hard time, look inward and look at yourself and think about what you can do to support yourself, because you can do it. I had such a cool conversation today in a book club that I'm a part of, just about how capable we need to believe that everyone is capable, and we need to believe that in ourselves. This is a whole other topic, but I have a friend who's going through a really hard time, and it's in our nature to want to fix things for other people. At least it's in mine. And then I thought, it's not my job to fix her life. It's not my job to fix what she's going through, and it's not my job to tell her how to cope. It's my job to show up as her friend and hold space for her and tell her I know she's going to figure this out, because she always does. And she's a boss ass bitch. And that's so important. And we need to show up for ourselves like that and know we got this. And if we're not being who we really are, what the fuck is the point to life? Because it ends. That's the only thing that's guaranteed. And it's something that's hard to think through and navigate through, but life is so worth it. Life is so worth living. I have a really hard time understanding and just processing people who take their life. I had a family, not a family, my parents, a friend from high school, his wife passed away during quarantine. We're still in quarantine, but in quarantine, and it's really hard to wrap my head around the state someone's mind is in, and it breaks my heart. And I want to go into the mental health field to help people like that, and to understand the frame of mind they're in, to know what others can do to help and what I can do to help. And I really want to make more podcast episodes about mental health, and I hope for the future that I'll have some guests on about that as well. But just knowing that these moments in life are worth all the shitty times is something I just wanted to emphasize, because fuck, 2020 has been a whirlwind. 2020 has been a mess. And sometimes it's okay not to get out of bed, and sometimes it's okay to let ourselves, be in the hard times. But it's so important to show up in the world as who we really are, because you're the only you. You're the only one who's going to show up as you. And it's so important to let people see us as who we really are. because my life is changing because that's what I'm doing. And this was a crazy inspired moment. I had to jump on here and bring the mic. And usually when I do episodes by myself, I make some notes, and I made absolutely no notes for this episode. And it's funny, I have this thought a lot of the times when I have guests on too, where I go, what the fuck am I going to call this episode? And I'm having that exact realization right now. Like, I talked about so many different topics. I can't make this episode about online dating or about, I don't know, quarantine. Like, I'll figure it out. I always do. That's the thing. Tell yourself you figure it out. You literally always do. Wow, I'm being like a fucking motivational speaker right now. But either way, thank you for listening if you've listened to this whole thing. And I really hope that something has come through to you and you show up as exactly who you are. Please feel free to always reach out to me. My DMs are open. I don't know why I felt like I said that weirdly, but my DMs are always open on Instagram. And thank you for being who you are and listening to me fucking ramble. It's kind of crazy to think people actually care sometimes to hear what I have to say, but it's really empowering. And all the guests that I have on here, again, like I said, they show up as who they are too, and I cringe sometimes when I hear myself talk back, and not talk back, but like when I listen back on myself talking. It's not an easy thing, but I want to keep doing this forever. And thank you to my Bumble dudes if you are listening to this. That is the weirdest thing I've ever said. But shout out to you. Honestly, I think oftentimes they click on the episodes that are about sex more than anything. But hey, if they're taking away something from it, fuck yeah. Sounds great to me. So yeah, thank you for being here. Please subscribe, rate, and review. If you go on Apple Podcasts on your phone and just scroll to the bottom, you can leave a review on the show. It means a ton. Follow me on Instagram. And if you ever have any suggestions on other things that you'd like to hear me talk about, please tell me. Sometimes podcast thoughts and ideas just come to me randomly, but sometimes when people give suggestions, just kidding. I thought my computer turned off. Give suggestions or questions. It's really, really helpful for me. So yeah, always feel free to reach out, and I will see you guys on Tuesday or Friday. And just a heads up, I will be taking a 2-week break in December from posting, and then coming back in 2021 with 1 episode a week. And it is really hard for me to think about that I'm going to take a 2-week break, because I've been posting twice a week since like July 30th. So that's kind of crazy, but I'm forcing myself to do it so I can prep for 2021 and come back with lots of exciting stuff. See you guys soon. Thank you again for listening. Bye.